Do we really create our thoughts? Crazy. Most people believe they consciously create their thoughts, that a thought appears because they intentionally decided to think it.
It.
Right? Modern psychology and neuroscience suggest something
Very different.
something very different. Thoughts are not fully acts of will. Okay? They appear.
Appear.
Awareness registers.
Registers.
That awareness registers after they occur.
Boom.
This perspective changes how to understand anxiety, depression, and creativity. Okay? And the relation between a person and their own
Mind.
mind. What the brain shows. The brain imaging study using EEG and a functional MRI show that neural activity associated with a thought begins before a person becomes consciously aware
Aware.
of the thought. Crazy, isn't it? In other words, the brain initiates activity first, and only after that, does the subjective experience
Appear.
and I just thought this. Right? Awareness does not start the thought process. Awareness detects it.
Detects it.
In that moment, you are aware of thinking that what already have been introduced to the mind. This challenges the intuitive belief that we are the direct authors of every thought that appears
In the mind.
So what is the automatic mind? Most mental activity appears outside conscious control because the brain constantly predicts, evaluates, compares, interprets, and it does it faster than the conscious awareness can keep up. A major role is played by the default mode network. What it is, a set of a brain regions that becomes active when we are not focused on a specific task. This is when rumination, worries, self-evaluation, and future scenarios tend to appear. So if you're not focused, laser focused on one thing, meditation teaches that, praying teaches that. If you're not focused on one particular thing, random things appear in your mind. Rumination, worry, self-evaluation, and future scenarios, what will happen in my life. This appears naturally. You are not thinking about it. It comes to you and your awareness is registering it
Only.
It comes not because we choose them, but because the brain is operating on a
Automatic
mode, right? Automatic mode. If you're not laser focused on one thing, on one task, automatic things appear in your mind and you're only within the awareness registering it. This understanding is central in clinical psychology. In anxiety and depression, the core problem is not presence of thoughts because they will always be in your mind. Every human being receives random thoughts, right? But the assumption that thoughts are true, important, and require immediate response. So the problem is not the presence of these random thoughts, but the assumption that the thoughts are true, important, and require immediate response from the person. When a person believes every thought represents reality, they begin to identify with it, right? Random thought appears, okay, I will lose money, and you rethink, you expand the thought, and you think this is the identity within I live it, no money.
Boom.
When thoughts are recognized as automatic, something changes, something shifts. Distance appears. you create distance with a thought, your awareness understands that thought came randomly, and I do not get emotional with it. And this distance creates a choice which becomes possible. That is why modern therapy approaches such as acceptance and commitment therapy. What it means? It is mindfulness based on cognitive therapy and related models, right? Similar ones, which do not teach thought control. They teach observation of these thoughts within the awareness. Patients are not asked to suppress or eliminate the thoughts. No, they are taught to notice the thought. This is a thought, not a fact, not an instruction, and not a prediction. I received that thought and I can do whatever I want with it. No money in the future. I understand this came to me. I understand this thought. I do not associate with the thought because I am abundant. Right? The change does not occur by altering the content of thinking, but by the changing of the relations to thinking. What about creativity? The same mechanism applies to creativity. The most effective ideas rarely appear through force or effort. You cannot meditate these ideas through. They come to you in a random way. They tend to emerge when the attention relaxes, when cognitive pressure decreases. Okay? We all have that. Relaxed, calm, and a thought appears, an idea appears. That is why insights often arise in the shower, during a walk, during meditation, sitting in a sauna, or just before sleep, where you are the most relaxed. They are not manufactured by control. They are not noticed when awareness stops interfering. A human being is not a creator, it is a receiver from the divine source. It is receiving signal from the source, right? If you're not creating resistance, you receive a proper signal. If you're not aligned, you receive negative signal. So the conclusion would be, from a psychological and neurological perspective, okay, the mind is not a machine that creates thoughts on command. Cannot do that. It is a system that generates activity, and awareness functions as a observer. This does not remove responsibility. It restores realism. What is real? Okay? Mental freedom does not come from controlling every thought. It's not about that. It comes from recognizing that not every thought which you receive, bad or good, deserves control over you. By being aware of it, you can play with these random awareness thoughts. This was Habit Code, and I encourage you to create a habit of consciously looking at your thoughts, observing your thoughts within the awareness every human being has, and understand that we are not creating all the thoughts by force, but we receive them as a signal. And we choose what we do with these thoughts received previously.